Human, Quincy, Fullbring, Shinigami, Hollow. These are the things that must be present in the person who can break one of the strongest seals in the story. The seal that even Yhwach himself failed to break. The seal on the Soul King. And this is why Yhwach waited for Ichigo to be born and for all of his powers to activate, so that he could make Ichigo do this task, to remove the Soul King from existence. But revealing this truth makes us wonder about another person who also wanted to kill the Soul King and sit on the empty throne, Aizen Sasuke. So, did Aizen Sasuke know about this truth? The truth that removing the Soul King required someone with all that powers, or was there another way? And so guys, before we talk about Aizen Sasuke and what he might have done about the seal, we must first discuss what Yhwach said about who could break it. Yhwach, despite being the Soul King's son and the father of all the Quincy's, was unable to completely break the seal because it was revealed that the task required someone with multiple powers, and Yhwach wasn't one of them. And what we can notice guys in Yhwach's words when he mentioned Ichigo's power was that he considered humans to have their own power, and this strengthens one of the most popular theories about the origin of the eyes that both the Soul King and Yhwach possess. I have previously talked about it in this video, where the Soul King's eyes were reflected in Ichigo's. The theory suggests that the number of eyes corresponds to the number of powers each person possesses. For example, we know from the novel that the Soul King was human, which means he automatically had human powers. He was also Quincy and a Shinigami, and he had countless Fullbring powers. Therefore, the 4 eyes correspond to the 4 powers he had. As for Yhwach, he had only 3 eyes, which means he had human powers, because Ichigo once said to him, "Lowly human," and Quincy power since he is the father of all the Quincy's, and the 3rd eye might represent the Fullbring power, and it's possible that Yhwach inherited all of his father's powers except the Shinigami power. That's why guys, this idea of the eyes can explain the imagery Kubo was trying to convey when the Soul King's 4 eyes reflected on Ichigo's, symbolizing what Ichigo could become if he became the new Soul King. It seems that characters with a certain number of powers inside them are candidates to replace the Soul King, though not everyone has this potential, but there are few. For example, we have Ginju. According to the novels, Ginju could have replaced Soul King because he too has 4 powers. He was human, he has Fullbring power and also Hollow power, and was a substitute Shinigami. And this shows the importance of such characters and how they have the potential to replace the Soul King because of the powers within them. But when we talk about breaking the seal, Yhwach said that he needed someone with 5 powers, and he believed that Ichigo was needed because he surpassed the Soul King in terms of sources of power. The Soul King didn't have the Hollow power, and this could be the reason Ichigo was able to break the seal. Now guys, we come to the important question: how would Aizen Sasuke have dealt with this problem, since he also wanted to kill the Soul King? To answer this guys, we must first determine whether Aizen Sasuke knew that in order to kill the Soul King, he would need to break the seal surrounding him. The answer is certainly yes. There is no doubt that Aizen Sasuke knew everything about the Soul King. Evidence of this is his knowledge about many things related to the Soul King. For example, Aizen knew the truth about the Soul King and how he was merely a tool for the Shinigami to create a new world. He was just a sacrifice. He even knew about the Soul King's condition, that he was someone without arms and legs. Proof of this is Aizen's knowledge that the right arm of the Soul King, Mimihage, was inside Okitake. Aizen also knew about Yhwach's existence and his goal, and he had known about the Fullbrings for a long time. Aizen said that the Soul Society knew very little about the Fullbrings, because the Tsunayashiro family had hidden most of the information about them. Moreover guys, Aizen knew that in order to enter the royal palace, he needed Dolken, and he found a way to create it by attempting to destroy Karakura town. So a man who knows all of this information surely knew that when he reached that stage, the final stage, he would encounter the obstacle of the seal and would need to find a way to break it. That's why I believe Aizen might have read that to break the seal, someone with 5 powers was needed, and this is probably why he focused on the Hyoku. There is no doubt that the Hogyoku was Aizen's solution because it could break the barriers between races, as we saw with Hollows and Shinigami, and it could also fulfill the hidden desires of its wielder or those around him. For example, the Hogyoku was the reason for Orihime and Chad to have their powers. As Urahara said, the Hogyoku played the same role as the Soul King's fragment in awakening their powers. And also guys, one more thing, it's very important to remember that Aizen didn't have the ability to see the future like Yhwach. Yhwach has the Almighty, so he saw that a boy with all those powers would come, and he planned to use him to break the seal. Aizen on the other hand didn't see the future. He relied on existing information to plan his moves. Aizen started his plan centuries ago, before Ichigo even existed, and back then the idea of a Shinigami marrying a human wasn't even something Aizen could have thought of, because at the time there was no technology to make such a union possible. That's why Aizen Sasuke would have turned to the Hogyoku, which would grant him the power to evolve beyond all the other races and be capable of killing the Soul King. This is why Aizen spent most of his time researching and empowering the Hogyoku, even stealing Urahara's Hogyoku. And this is especially true when we consider that, for example, Tokinada, even after creating Hikone, a being with a human, hollow, Quincy, Fullbring, and Shinigami powers, and yet he still needed the Hogyoku to make Hikone as a Soul King. So the Hogyoku would undoubtedly have been Aizen's tool for achieving his goals. Because just as the Hogyoku awakened the Fullbring powers in Orihime and Chad, it would have provided Aizen with greater evolution across other races, allowing him to break the seal, especially since it has one of the fragments of the Soul King, the Soul King's nail. However guys, we must know that what I have said is about how Aizen Sasuke was thinking before Ichigo came to existence. Aizen's original plan relied on the Hogyoku, but no doubt when he saw Isshin and Masaki and how they met and how they had a child, which is something impossible in the past, Aizen might have started thinking about a boy or a person who could break the seal and replace the Soul King, which is Ichigo. Thus Aizen wanted to test Ichigo and pushing him to develop his powers and reach his full potential to see if he could break the seal or not. In the end, Aizen believed that the Hogyoku was a tool that would allow him to reach the level needed to kill the Soul King and sit on the empty throne. So guys, what do you think about what I have said now? Do you think Aizen could break the seal that is on the Soul King by using the Hogyoku? Or there is another way? Or just he couldn't because there is no Ichigo in the plan? Tell me guys your opinion in the comments and see you in my next video.